our weekly video segment to take you into the back shelves of your local video store, back where it says horror videos, and where kids are devouring some awful films that we call the video nasties.
Are you freebasing? Inquiring minds want to know.
I have to break free from this culture of mechanical reproductions and the thick incrustations dying on the surface.
Fuck the prime time, bitch!
Monmouth the New Fletch.
The pain, I can assure you, will be exquisite. As for our deaths, come with me and be immortal.
We have such sights to show you.
We've got to return some videotapes.
Hello, horror hounds, and welcome to the It Slays podcast. I'm your humble host, Rowan.
And I'm your blowjob breath spray Mike.
And I'm Colton.
It's Gill.
And we are back. And yeah, Gill is back. It's not just the boys. We are back.
She already regrets her choices.
Yeah, she's already regretting this. So, and you can hear it in our voices. They might sound a little down, but it is a Mike pick this week. So we're just preparing ourselves for everything that's going to come with this episode. It's loaded when it's a Mike pick. But we knew it was really important to clear some airspace because Gill was very upset that she had to, apparently do something that was more important than come on the podcast and talk about Hellraiser.
Listen, what the fuck?
I don't know what that could have been.
I went to a show, but anyway, I was upset because I fucking love Hellraiser. And I heard that the rumblings of dissent of some people not liking Hellraiser as much as they should have. And shame on you, Colton.
I thought you weren't going to name names, but you did.
You should probably listen to the episode to see what I have
will
to say
listen
on
to
Hellraiser.
the episode. I will listen
because I can counter and say, what are your thoughts on Fat Morbius?
Fat Morbius?
Yeah, what are your thoughts on Fat Morbius?
I knew
he's a
this
pretty
was coming.
prominent character in the Hellraiser movie. So what do you think about Fat Morbius?
I love him. What do you think of
right.
Fat Morbius?
Oh, he's iconic. He's,
Oh, okay,
the best of the four Cenobites.
So that's
Fat Morbius.
He's your favorite Cenobite?
Yes. Listen to the episode. We've discussed it.
Okay, I will.
What about Bone Daddy Dragons?
Is this what you guys were like coming up with and talk to me about? Because I literally hate you guys. But I love me some Pinhead. I love Doug Bradley. It's that voice. It gets me. That's one of my favorite things about the Hellraiser franchise. Me and Rowan have done a Now Slaying episode on the new Hellraiser movie that came out the last year. And I think we talked about it there, but our love for Doug Bradley and the fact that we connect that he does a lot of work with Cradle of Filth, and we both love
another
Cradle of Filth.
three
another band with three
band name, yep.
words in it. Yeah, imagine that. But anyways, I love Doug Bradley. I love Hellraiser. It gets a huge fucking slay from me because it is a tried and true classic. I love the concept. I love how disgusting it is. I love how shitty the characters are, especially Frank. I love how shitty Frank is. And slay for me. And I love Fat Morbius.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're waiting for a spin-off series. Must be, I think it's coming to like Hulu or HBO or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I actually went to Jared Leto's Morbius expecting Fat Morbius to be in there, but he was nowhere to be found.
What a letdown.
Isn't that what Jared Leto is?
He was in that one movie where he plays the guy who kills John Lennon. He gained a bunch of weight for that role.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think I ever saw that one.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one either.
It's really good, actually. I'm a closet Jared Leto fan. Not anymore, but yeah.
30 Seconds to Mars, man.
See? The formula works for band names.
Yeah.
I don't think when I started this podcast, I ever thought that there would be so many references to 30 Seconds to Mars. I think it's been brought up at least 4 to 5 times throughout the history of the podcast.
It's very important.
I don't think I've even heard a 30 Seconds to Mars song.
Had to.
Ever.
It was pretty inescapable. Like
I
back
probably
in the day.
never will, so there's no hope there. But
We will make it happen.
let's talk about what we have been consuming, what have we been watching, what have we been listening to, what have we been reading, what have we been up to. And we will start with Gill, because you were absent last time, and we just want to put all the pressure we can on you. So what have you been consuming?
I'm currently on the 4th book of the Throne of Glass series. It's called Queen of Shadows. It's really good. I'm really liking the series. It's not a smut series. It's straight up fantasy, so I don't want to hear it from any of you guys. I read other things too.
It's not fairy porn? I thought that's what Sarah J. Maas does.
It is like, but there's no porn.
There's a lot of stuttering going on.
No, it's more like, they might kiss eventually in like the 3rd book or something like that. It is nothing like the other books she writes, but anyways, I'm liking that. I went to go see The Flash the other day, and I thought it was decent. Like mediocre. I know Rowan really didn't like it.
Fucking hate you guys.
It gave me a Wonder Woman cameo, and for me, that's like 2 stars right there. And I didn't care about the rest of the movie. I was like, okay, I'm good, I'm done. I rewatched Howl's Moving Castle recently. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. I love it so much. Makes me super emotional. I think I cried watching it again. Good stuff. I made my husband watch 50 Shades of Grey, and it's way worse than I remember. Like, I put it on as a meme. And dear God, we like turned it off halfway through, but it was so bad. And,
I was disappointed when I saw that movie, because I went into it with like all that old lady hype where everyone was talking about how it was like the horniest and sexiest book and movie ever at the time. And I went into it and it was like so boring. So yeah, 50 Shades let me down as well. But that was like, I don't know what, like 10 years ago now when I watched that.
Yeah.
I never watched the sequels. Apparently the sequels get wild. Like helicopters crashing and shit. I don't know. Yeah, maybe I should watch those. Ghosts? I heard there's ghosts. Could it be a now slaying pick, or can we pick one of the sequels?
Not.
Oh, don't go putting ideas in our head, man. Don't go putting ideas in our head.
Smut books need to have subplots, and they always do like some action thing, and that's why that happens. But anyways, doesn't mean it's good. Yeah, that's all I got. I went to since this is a horror podcast, I saw Ice Nine Kills live the other night, and it was really good.
Woo.
And yeah, that's all I got. What about you, Mike?
Well, I've been watching a lot of trash. Shocker! I decided to start rewatching Jersey Shore, so that's happening.
I love Jersey Shore.
I know. I was like, I put it on, like you, as a meme while I was folding laundry one day, and lo and behold, I, like, snapped back to reality, like, 4 hours later, and was like, halfway through the first season and said, well, I guess I'll just keep watching.
That's a classic. At one point, we owned all of the seasons on DVD.
Okay, that's a little bit embarrassing,
No,
but
it's not.
Honestly, also very iconic.
They're still making, like, spin-offs of the Jersey Shore, and I still watch it.
I saw that! I was like, what the hell? I just thought they were all, like, kind of, I don't know.
What are they
in
called?
jail
The
or
spin-offs?
washed up.
Anybody know?
Family Vacation.
Oh, okay.
Because they're all old now and have, like, families, and they all get together and, like, do crazy shit.
Like, that just sounds awful. Like,
yeah, it's not as good as it used to be. And, like, Pauly D is, like, really fucking old now. Like, he was old when they started, and yeah, he's real old.
Yeah, I remember like watching, and then it like kind of like came out that he was like way older than everyone else.
Yeah.
But also, like, that's what happens when you just tan all the time and don't take care of your skin.
Yeah.
Like, when your skin turns to leather by the time you're like 25, it's gonna be rough for the rest of your life.
Now they all have
saying.
plastic surgery, and it's, like, even scarier. Like, it's excessive plastic surgery.
So now I'm hearing It Slays, the spin-off Jersey Shore.
Yes, that's what I was thinking.
I'm like, yeah, that sounds like a horror movie.
We haven't had a
face.
good side cast in a while. That sounds
I know, yeah. Side
heard
cast
you guys
number
discussing
700.
Yeah, I heard you guys discussing Leatherface there, so yeah, that should fit.
Yeah.
There you go.
And I did have a first watch last week, and that was the surprisingly, I mean, maybe not surprisingly, excellent Magic Mike XXL, which I loved.
I've actually never seen any of those movies. They're all suggested to me because everyone I know that has seen them actually really likes them, or at least the first one.
Yeah.
And I've never seen them. It's on my watch list.
Yeah, XXL is very, very good. It's XX good, if you will.
That's the newest one, right, Mike?
Yes.
Yeah. No, I haven't seen any of them either, actually. But they're by Soderbergh, right? Steven Soderbergh?
Yeah, he didn't direct that one. He I think he co-wrote it and produced it or whatever, and some other guy did. But it still had a lot of the hallmarks and was like very artful, I guess you could say. Very well done. Yeah, that's honestly pretty much all I've watched besides a couple of shitty TV movies on Tubi. So, the usual garbage. What about you, Colton?
Yeah, I finished up Black Mirror season 6. I know Rowan mentioned it last time, but I wound up watching the last 3 episodes. I
still haven't finished the last episode.
What? How have you not finished it? It's only an hour long.
Yeah, maybe tonight. We just haven't got to it. We were working, and then that was kind of out the window.
Oh, that's funny.
I've been watching that too. It's really good.
Yeah. Have you finished them all, Gill? Or
I just finished the third episode, the one with Aaron Paul.
Yeah. That's the first one I'll mention here, Beyond the Sea. I didn't love it that much. I know it's one of those that a lot of people do love. It's probably the feature length episode of the series, and I'm a huge Breaking Bad fan. Breaking Bad's my favorite television show of all time, probably. But the issue ever since Aaron Paul was in Breaking Bad is just he's kind of typecast and has a really bad agent where they're trying to kind of break him free from the Jesse Pinkman persona, but they still style him just like he looks like Jesse Pinkman and everything, with the shaved, buzzed cut hair. And he's usually really emotional in the roles, but also kind of sketchy. And it's just, I don't know, he's never going to be able to do Jesse Pinkman again. So it's just kind of irritating, I think, seeing him in a lot of these things. For this one, specifically for me, I thought this was a 40-minute premise and an 80-minute movie. It was something where when it started, everybody knew where this premise was going. And it just took them 80 minutes to get there for whatever reason. So it was okay, but it certainly didn't blow me away. The next episode, Maisie Day, I think is definitely the worst of the season. Would you agree, Rowan, as well? Number 4.
Yeah, I thought so also.
Yeah, it stars Zazie Beetz, which, I've liked her in a few things I've seen her in. But this is one of the episodes that very much doesn't feel like a Black Mirror episode at all. I don't even know if it involves technology at all. And I know the twist, it certainly does not. It's a paranormal twist, which is actually something I was noticing with this whole season. It kind of shifts away from that technology-related stories to just straight-up horror stories to a certain degree, which obviously for us and our audience probably should work a little bit more, but it winds up feeling a little unfocused at times because you'll have straight-up weird paranormal aspects in the show where it's just you've never had it before. So it's a little strange. This one specifically didn't work for me at all in the paranormal aspects. But in the final episode, Demon 79, once again, it has kind of a paranormal aspect. And I just thought that was a lot more fun of an episode. I really enjoyed it. I won't say anything about it, considering we all haven't seen it. But I enjoyed it. I thought it was probably the second strongest of the season. Outside of those 3 episodes, I checked out the Poughkeepsie tapes. Have any of you seen the Poughkeepsie tapes before?
I have, actually.
Okay.
And I saw it along when it came out.
Okay, so I'm putting a GIF in our Discord. And basically, the Poughkeepsie tapes is one of those movies that have been haunting me for probably 15 years. This GIF that I dropped in the Discord, essentially, I stumbled upon the footage of that back when I was 15, at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning with a couple of friends. And at the time, it was an unlisted YouTube video with no title, no description, no nothing. And it was on one of those threads where it was essentially people trying to scare each other and find out the most fucked up videos they could find on the internet. So I stumbled across this GIF of essentially this woman kind of tied up in the foreground and this creepy killer slinking along the ground behind her. And I thought it was an actual snuff film. It scared the shit out of me. It instantly ended our night. Our hangout session was over, and it took us a couple of days to finally figure out that it actually wasn't from a snuff film, because the whole concept of the Poughkeepsie tapes is just essentially a mockumentary of one of the most notorious serial killers in Poughkeepsie, New York. And it's essentially just watching a lot of these tapes of torture or him like dismembering and disposing of his victims and stuff. And it's a pretty dark and bleak movie. And what I'll say is overall, I still found it to be very effective. Obviously, there's probably a little bit of childhood trauma with this one, like when I was watching it. So I was kind of felt like sick to the stomach the entire watch anyways, because I was just like waiting for the scene, you know, to kind of pop up and like, okay, what's it going to look like in full context? Is it still going to be as scary as I remember? And what I'll say is when I got to that scene, I still found it pretty frightening. Like, obviously, I've seen it numerous times throughout the years now, and, you know, I show it to friends every now and then, basically be like, hey, do you find this scary? Because it frightened the shit out of me 15 years ago. But I still thought it was pretty effective. I think if the expert interviews in the movie, you know, kind of like law enforcement or the CIA or stuff, if they weren't so cheesy, I think the movie would actually be pretty effective, because those performances let you down, but the performances of the victims and what's happening on the tapes and stuff it feels really realistic, and it's pretty grungy and pretty gross. So, yeah, it's pretty good analog horror, I think. I enjoyed it, the Poughkeepsie tapes. Yeah, and then the last thing I saw, very different from the Poughkeepsie tapes, I went to see the new Indiana Jones movie. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. And I'm not like a huge Indiana Jones fan or anything. I've seen them all, but the first one I ever saw was the fourth one in theaters back in the day when it came out. And as, you know, everybody knows, the fourth one is like notoriously bad and has Shia LaBeouf like swinging with CGI monkeys and, you know, aliens show up at the end. It's super bizarre. So this one was better than that one. It still was pretty boring, I will say, overall. It's definitely way too long. And even though I thought it was really well directed, like James Mangold is a good director, like, you know, Logan and Ford v Ferrari and whatnot. Like, he's a very competent director. I just found a lot of the action in this didn't feel all that exciting. It was shot during COVID and kind of suffered a lot of delays and whatnot. And I think it kind of reduced the scope of a lot of the action scenes to be like really confined and close to just kind of show a couple of actors at a time to kind of, you know, obscure that fact that it was shot during COVID. And even more concerning is I thought a lot of the jokes missed in the movie, which for like Indiana Jones, where it's supposed to be quippy and kind of swashbuckling and fun, that kind of, I don't know, it just made it feel a little bit longer. And Phoebe Waller-Bridge is in the movie, and I was kind of like, why didn't you just get her to punch up the script? Like, why didn't you just get her to write in some like more modern jokes or, you know, actually make it funny? And
she's like, I'm done writing.
Yeah, essentially, I did a quick Google search, and I was like, she must have done something, right? Like, you wouldn't have her in a co-lead of a movie and not let her like punch up the script. But yeah, no screenwriting credits. So
wow,
that's kind of baffling.
That's a waste. That's such a waste.
Yeah, and she's pretty good in the movie for what she is. She's kind of like playing like that anti-hero sort of character. Like, you know, she's one of those like treasure hunters that's all obsessed with the money, essentially, when, you know, Indiana Jones is about like, it belongs in a museum, when she's like, oh, let's make a quick buck, you know, so I can keep living, essentially.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone here cares about spoilers for Indiana Jones 5.
Nope. Go ahead.
Yeah, no.
Okay. So if you're listening and you don't want to be spoiled for Indiana Jones 5, even though it's super obvious by the title, this one has time travel in it, and literally the third act takes place in like ancient Rome, and they're flying around in airplanes, like dodging trebuchets and catapults and like warring nations, and it goes so far off the rails that like I kind of loved how cheesy it got at the end. Like, it's literally winds up being like Indiana Jones doesn't want to go back to the present timeline because he's like, I've been studying, you know, ancient history for all these years. I should just live here. And it's a really bizarre ending.
That's a choice.
Yeah, so I don't know. I thought it was pretty funny to see like Indiana Jones and like Archimedes running around like solving mathematics and shit. It was a very strange twist to the movie, but not as weird as the aliens, I guess. So yeah, I don't know. That's what I've been watching. What about
I like
you,
that
Rowan?
twist isn't as crazy as the aliens.
As aliens, yeah. It's like they try and couch this one as like it makes sense in the world of science. They're trying to, you know, use mathematics and all this nonsense to explain it. But I mean, it's still like time traveling Indiana Jones. Oh, and I didn't mention the villain's like motivation for time traveling is Hitler wasn't a good enough Nazi. He wants to go back in time and right all the wrongs that Hitler did to be more effective.
What?
Which is
the fuck?
he wants to kill Hitler to be a better Hitler, which is just, that's crazy. Like villain motivations. Yeah, I was like, wow, the balls on this guy, Mads Mikkelsen, just crazy.
He's great though.
Oh yeah, he's great.
Wait,
it's just
oh my god, that's who it is?
Yeah, it's Mads Mikkelsen. Yeah, basically he wants to be a better Hitler. Essentially, is like the villain's
He would
motivation.
make a great Hitler though. Like if they had to, you know, cast someone.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Jill just by herself doing, dream castings of Hitler.
Hitler? Yeah. Yeah, Jill's a big Hitler fan, actually.
Actually, no.
Okay, yeah,
Listen,
don't even joke.
I married a Jewish guy. First
Oof.
of all.
Yeah.
All right.
But yeah, maybe go see Indiana Jones. I don't know. It was fun by the end of it. It was just it took a while to get really crazy off the rails, but yeah. I thought it was okay. Wasn't that great. And Rowan, I'll try and throw it to you again. What have you been watching or consuming?
Well, I was going to start this off with something totally different, but I have to somehow, smooth segue. So I also watched a little bit of time traveling in one movie called Time Cop with Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And I got on a little kick. I was at work, and I've said many times, like when I'm at work, I kind of try to watch like all these like 80s, 90s action movies that I've never watched because I was like never really into them. But I had seen Time Cop before. I remember renting it when I was a kid. It's like trash science fiction, so that's definitely in my area. And I had a time with it. I thought it was really good. It was super funny. It was like the right amount of trashy. There was like so many just like, oh yeah, that guy in it. Where it's just like random guys that are always in like 80s and 90s action movies.
Mm-hmm. Does he do the splits in that one? Because that's like his kind of signature move, right, Jean-Claude?
There's no way he doesn't do the splits in it.
Good.
But it's like moody. Moody Jean-Claude Van Damme saving himself, essentially. It's just a classic go back in time plot. And then I double featured that with Hard Target, which I'd never seen.
Oh, wow.
And as someone that is I like to think I'm a fairly large John Woo fan. I was surprised I had never seen this. And this recently had come out on 4K, so I'd kind of been eyeing it, and I was like, you know what? I better watch it before I do that. And thanks to Tubi, they have all the Jean-Claude on Tubi. And Hard Target, to add this to the list, better than Jaws in my ratings.
Oh, God.
Hard Target was like fantastic. I was warned by Trevor and Willow that I was really, really gonna like it. And how could you not like Jean-Claude with long hair, a single earring, playing a kid?
Wait, isn't it a mullet?
It's reaching the mullet. Let's be honest, it is a mullet.
Okay, yeah.
And he just plays like a Southern Cajun guy, and it's amazing. There's a lot of splits in this one, but Lance Hendrickson is the villain in it, and he's fantastic. The action was amazing in it, and I thought the plot was pretty good. And just you can really, I mean, if you watch, I'm thinking not so much like American John Woo movies, but kind of his pre-America run. Like, it's just anything John Woo's fantastic. Lots of, like, slow motion, aerial type work and kicks and all that kind of stuff. And then I think last episode, I was talking about how I had a guy at work and we've been, like, re-watching iconic movies that he never has seen. So we banged some out. So we got to Aliens. We got to the second one, and I'm glad to report I think he liked it. He didn't like it as much as the first one. When we reviewed the second one, we said, you're either like in that one camp or that two camp. And I feel like if you're like younger, it's probably harder to be in the two camp now, just because, it's like, it is like almost 2.5 hour long movie. And, kids, their attention span, I'm sure it was just way too long.
Yeah, but like every movie these days is 3 hours.
Yeah, I just felt like, watching it, like I could kind of see that I was like, I think he's like fading for some of this. And I kind of know his taste, and he's actually like a little more like, he likes a little more artful, a little more stylized. So I could see why he liked the first one. We also watched the original Terminator, which, I mean, is fantastic, and he really, really enjoyed it. I think he gave it a 5-star on Letterboxd. Like, he really liked that. And then, of course, everyone our age's favorite, we watched T2, which he liked less than T1, which at this watch, I can't say I could necessarily argue with them. T2 holds like nostalgia in my heart, so it's like always my number one just because of the age when I saw it. But T1 is just so goddamn fun. The like soundtrack is killer.
Oh, amazing.
It's just more trash science fiction. What Gill...
But it sounds like he's just not a James Cameron fan because he dislikes all the James Cameron sequels.
Yeah, well, that's...
Yeah, look at that. Ask him about Avatar 2009.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
Well, I did like, as we watched them, he kept bringing up, he's like, oh, the blue filter again. I'm like, yes, James Cameron and his blue.
He loves blue. Yeah.
It would only be good if he had never seen Avatar, so you could be like, you think he likes blue now.
We got blue people coming up.
So, yeah, what Jill did mention is we watched Requiem for a Scream on Tubi for Stream Screams. This was a Shudder original. It's like dedicated to being a slasher and like a giallo, but super low budget. It's created by this company that only makes Lifetime and Hallmark movies, and they decided to go into like a rated R movie. And
I'm into it.
So
I'm very into it.
Go hear our thoughts on it. It has some blood and gore, so we were very surprised, and you can hear what else we thought about the plot. I'm late to the game. I saw Spider-Verse across the Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
Blew my fucking socks off. It was fantastic. So good. I usually don't rush to the like anything Marvel because I know it's just going to be in my theater for like 8 months. So we finally caved in, went and saw it, loved it. I did a double feature with that, and here we go. It's time for Colton, I'm sure, to just groan. A double feature that I saw twice this week, because I got Exilia to go to the theater with me yesterday to also go see it. I saw No Hard Feelings twice this week, which is the new Jennifer Lawrence rated R sex comedy that came out last week, which I enjoyed. I thought it was pretty good. The marketing kind of fools everyone. It's not rated R. It's like 14 and, maybe barely a 14. I guess I went in kind of hoping that it was going to be a little more risque than it was, because she was really promoting this as like, we're going back to the 2000s, and it's just going to be this like, I can't believe they put this on film type comedy. And this has all the trappings of like a 2023 comedy where it's like, it's very like correct. They really made sure there's like nothing like even gross or offensive in it.
Isn't the premise though already like kind of...
Yeah, which I won't, it's brand new, so I won't give it away, but like even that they thread, so it's not that.
Okay, because the premise for this one always seemed a little problematic in the like licorice pizza sort of way for me. I think the kid in this one, they put him as 19 or something.
Yes,
right?
But, they made sure that he was like above the age of.
Yeah, it's like, oh, this guy's actually legal. Now Jennifer Lawrence can sexually harass him the entire movie.
But I enjoyed it. I thought I really enjoyed the soundtrack. I said before we recorded I couldn't get Maneater out of my mind. There's like a whole shtick the whole movie with the original Maneater, and so now that's permanently stuck in my head. And I guess if you are just really adamant about seeing full frontal Jennifer Lawrence nudity, this is your movie, I guess. It's kind of like what is it, like Mr. Skins, the website, like, Knocked Up, where their whole website is what movies have naked actors and actresses in it at what times. Yeah, if I was making one, this would go on the list. And then there wasn't really much else. I saw Shooting Stars, which is the new movie LeBron James put out that is based on his autobiography, and it's fine. It's like a super sanitized, LeBron James does no wrong because I wrote this film. Just about, his childhood and, their struggles and coming up as a student athlete that was famous literally like in junior high onward and just that kind of stuff. And then, other than that, just rewatches. I rewatched How High Above the Rim, which is always fantastic with Tupac. National Lampoon's Vacation. Exilia had never seen
that
it.
soundtrack is so good, Above the Rim.
Yeah, it's one of the greatest soundtracks of all time. And then I did see The Rundown for the first time.
Oh God, that's The Rock and Sean William Scott.
Yeah, so I watched it at work, and my friend at work, he's really bragged it up. And he's like, you know what? It's pretty good. Now, I'm not going to lie. I was running on 2 hours sleep at work. And I kind of was just fever dreaming the whole way watching it. I was half asleep. And I had no fucking idea what was going on. So I'm not sure if the plot was just terrible and there really wasn't anything going on, or if I was just coming in and out of it. But
I got that one and Walking Tall mixed up a lot because that was around the same time when Dwayne The Rock Johnson was making the pivot. So you should watch Walking Tall next and do a comparison.
Yeah, do a comparison, maybe.
Yeah.
Anyway, I thought it was all right. The action was fine. It's always interesting to see people like The Rock when they're really young and they're just kind of starting their careers. But yeah, it wasn't very notable, I thought. So that's everything. Let's get into the film, which was a Mike pick. And Mike won the stay in 1987, one of the best years in human history. Because Hellraiser, also a 1987 movie. We should have just saw how many picks we could go in 1987.
Well, I will give you a hint. I don't know if you realize, but there's at least one more on the slate coming in the next couple months.
Ooh.
That's all I'm saying.
There we go. So why don't you tell the people what the pick is and why you chose it?
Okay, so today's pick is Hello, Mary Lou, Prom Night 2. And I picked it because, we sort of slotted all these movies in quite a while ago. And at the time, I've been just an advocate for this movie. I've been
You've been trying to get this on the show since year one.
Literally since we started, yeah. I feel like all my life I've been a cheerleader for this movie because it's one of those that I watched when I was young, and it kind of, I don't know if I loved it because its aesthetic was me or if it helped form my aesthetic. It's that kind of hand-in-hand thing. But yeah, I wanted to do an episode on it forever because I thought, it's unfairly overlooked and it's all these far inferior, shittier movies get insane, re-releases with 20 discs worth of material and remasters and blah, blah. And I'm how come this one doesn't? Anyway, but now it's funny that by the time we actually get around to recording it, it is having a bit of a renaissance since probably last year, I want to say. And now it's on Shudder. That's huge because you used to have to watch a VHS rip of it that you downloaded off of Pirate Bay or Mini Nova or something back in the day. Oh god, I miss Mini Nova.
Oh
Mini Nova, R.I.P. R.I.P. Mini Nova still, even though it's been dead for 10 years. But yeah, so I just thought, it was about time that we decided to watch it and chat about it. And yeah, so there we go. That's why I chose it.
Let's get into the trailer for Hello, Mary Lou, Prom Night 2, and we will be back with the synopsis and first experiences.
Hi, Mary Lou speaking. Sorry I can't come to the phone right now. But I'm busy at the prom. Places to go, people to scare.
Hello, Mary Lou. Prom Night 2.
Hello, Mary Lou. Prom Night 2 was directed by Bruce Pittman and written by Ron Oliver, and the story is as follows. 30 years after her accidental death at her 1957 senior prom, the tortured spirit of prom queen Mary Lou Maloney returns to seek revenge.
So first experiences, have we seen this movie before, or are we prom night fanatics? Is prom night our favorite night of our life, and we just watch any movie dedicated to prom? You know, we throw these movies in, we get our tux on first, or our dress, or whatever you want to wear, get your corsage, get your, I don't know what the other thing is that the guys wear.
Boutonniere.
Is it a boutonniere? And just, revel in all that is promness. We will start with you, Gill.
First of all, what kind of psychopath, actually remembers prom fondly?
That is a very good point, period.
First of
period.
all. Secondly, this is my first time watching Prom Night 2. However, I did see the original and the remake of the original before. So
Brittany Snow, right? Yes.
Yeah. So yeah. So first time for this one, but familiar with the franchise. What about you, Colton?
Yeah, I'm pretty similar to Jill, although I do have fond memories of prom night. My prom was pretty good. I mean, not peaked in high school good, but it wasn't torturous or anything. And I've also seen the original prom night and the remake. What I'll say is I don't have very fond memories of either. I don't like the original or the remake. So going into this Mike pick, I was not really looking forward to it. I kind of felt like that one guy who's just dramatically pounding on the ground as, Mary Lou is burning to death. Do you guys know the guy I'm talking about? But yeah, this was my first time seeing it. So we'll have more to say about it for sure. What about you, Rowan?
I was waiting for you to be like, I don't have very fond memories of it, and I will see you guys next episode.
It's a nay from me. Goodbye. Yeah.
So man, I feel like the new Bazor here. So I have never seen this. I was aware of it, but just never seen it. The cover's super iconic. So I'm pretty sure I've seen a poster in a dirty, grungy VHS store that I used to rent stuff at. But I have actually never seen the original one, which I feel
so you were lost watching this one. Yeah, no
totally
idea.
lost.
Yeah.
Which I feel is blasphemous, because the first one is kind of in lots of lists of horror movies you should see. The first one is on there. I have seen the remake of it, which is actually kind of funny. So when me and Exilia first moved to Newfoundland, literally the first day, all I had with me was, our luggage and our laptop. At the time, laptops still had disk drives in them. And we didn't have anything to do. So I literally, we lived down the street from a Ultramar, a gas station. And we're let's go get some chips or whatever. We had no furniture, nothing. So I go to this gas station and I buy a Blu-ray copy of Prom Night the remake with my treats, and I'm we can watch this movie that I picked up at a gas station for $10, $8, whatever it was. And so that was how I saw the remake for it. So that is my only experience with Prom Night, and I don't really remember it. I still own that copy. I feel like I kind of liked the remake when we watched it, and I was for a gas station, I feel like if you pick anything up at a gas station and it's even remotely watchable, then you probably did well. I don't recommend that's how you pick your movies.
Yeah, if we were podcasting in the early aughts, if this was 2005, stream screams would be you guys going to gas stations and just picking up Blu-rays.
Dollarama, going to the Dollarama electronic aisle and seeing what they had.
That's
there.
less fun.
But so that's my first experiences. Mike, usually we screw this all up, and we usually say the first experience is when you introduce the movie, but you were smart enough not to really do it this time.
I sort of did, and I caught myself.
Yeah. So how about your first experience?
Okay, so I saw this, I don't know how young I was. It was when I was just going to the video stores and just renting every horror movie that they had, essentially. But I remember, I always used to be in the video stores as, a kid and would just look at these covers and, you know, sort of like dream about what the movies were like. And, you know, I loved looking at the back and seeing like the little stills that they put on it and stuff, because that always like, ooh, you know, oh my God, I'm like getting, it's like forbidden fruit, right? And this was one of them. I don't know what it was. The covers that most of the video stores around where I lived had, it wasn't like a lot of them, a lot of the releases have where she's like in the locker, but it looks like a casket. But the releases that I always saw was the still of her standing at the top of the stairs of the theater room, you know, like in the doorway, like in silhouette. And so I don't know why that always like really intrigued me. And you know, oh my God, the picture of Vicky like caught in the spider web, I was like, what the fuck is this movie? So of course, as soon as I started like actually being able to rent horror movies, that was one of the first ones I got, and I really enjoyed it. I had never seen the other Prom Nights, and it did not dull my enjoyment of the movie, because obviously it's not related. And then I eventually did, you know, go back and, you know, of course I was like, oh my God, Jamie Lee Curtis was in the first one, and watch that. And honestly, of the peak Scream Queen period, Jamie Lee Curtis era, it's like lesser. You know, I admit that. Like, nobody here seems to really like be super fond of it. It had a couple of, you know, great like chase scenes and stuff, but like for the most part, I find it to be fairly forgettable. But like, I've never forgotten this, and I've watched it like so many times over the years. I'm not like a diehard fanatic of this series, but I really am of this movie. I only saw the third one like maybe once or twice because it was always really hard to find. And the fourth one I actually also really liked because it had some like old school Canadian TV hardcores in it. So, you know, I think all of them were filmed in Canada. So you always see like Canadian actors and stuff like that. So yeah, I've watched it like numerous times over the years. And like I said, I've been trying to be a cheerleader for it my whole life and be like, watch Prom Night 2. Hello, Mary Lou. Like, do it. And I've gotten a few people into it.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think all of the directors were Canadian too, at least for the first and second ones.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know anything about the third other than like I barely remember seeing it once or twice. But like the fourth one, 100% had to be also Canadian because everybody in it is like recognizably like Canadian background players from like indie movies and stuff. So, including one of the moms from Degrassi: The Next Generation. Represent Joy Tanner. Anyway.
Well, yeah. I think it's about time because we're getting into talking about this film. It's time to get into the meat and potatoes. I don't know if you hear in the background, but I've lowly queued, you know, it's very plain low. I've queued up Aerosmith. I don't want to miss a thing. So we can get our slow dance on and talk about this movie. You know where we're going to start. Our favorite scene and or favorite kill. Colton.
Oh, God. I had a favorite scene, and then I just changed it at the last moment, just when I was reading over my notes here. I think, and might be a bit of a cop-out, but I actually really do like the scene in the beginning of the movie when she's in confession with the priest, Mary Lou, and she's going over like how many men she slept with and, you know, how sinful she is. And then she looks like dead at the camera through like the netting on the confession booth, and she goes, I loved every minute of it. It was pretty iconic when I was starting the movie. I was like, oh, okay, this is what sort of movie this is. You know, absolutely having no idea what I was getting into, right? But no, I think I liked that moment because it set it up really well, what the movie was going to be. And then also just as a kid with a Christian background, I'm not Roman Catholic, but I was like, oh, feels like extra sinful to me when I was watching it. So it was good.
She's there with her like lipstick writing on the confessional.
Yeah, writing on it. Yeah, and then it's also like mirrored later in the movie, and I like that moment as well. But I just think it was a very strong intro sequence, I thought. Like, it was really good. Like, revealing of the character, then also like how much fun she was getting and kind of indulging in, you know, her sinful nature or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, I really liked that scene. What about you, Jill? What was your favorite scene or kill?
Before I go into that, I just want to say I watched this with my friends who grew up Roman Catholic and went to like Catholic private school and shit. Mm-hmm. And I love seeing stuff like this with them because I get to hear about all their Catholic trauma. And they commented on like every part of like that's exactly how it was when they were growing up and stuff, so that was cool. Also, I read a book recently, I think I told you guys about it. It's called Priest, and it's a smut book, and that's like exactly how it went, that scene. So I was like, oh wow, that's reminiscent. But anyway, I had two scenes that I really liked. I really liked the chalkboard scene. It really took me by surprise because when I first saw the chalk being written, where it says like "help me" or whatever, I was like, that looks super shitty. Like, this is a terrible effect. And then it really took me by surprise because it did some crazy psychedelic water stuff. It had this like very surreal David Lynch Twin Peaks vibe going on. And the whole movie kind of has that feel, which is something I really liked about it. But yeah, I really like that scene. A close second for me is the locker scene. It also took me by surprise because I didn't expect her to just get like crushed like that between the other lockers, and it was pretty brutal. So yeah, two really
the like
great
squirt
scenes.
of goo that comes out of it is like chef's kiss.
That was fantastic. I was gonna say about the chalkboard scene too is when that came in, I think that for me is when, because like Colton, like the intro scene, I was like, yeah, they like this is gonna be fun, but like it really like that chalkboard scene switched where I was like, I think this is like actually better made than I thought it was gonna be. And I don't know if you guys notice, you know, I usually read like the blurb on Shudder about the movies, and what a perfect description where they describe this as Carrie meets A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I have multiple notes about how it just is starting to feel a little bit like A Nightmare on Elm Street when we're watching it. Like a lot of the weird dream sequences and whatnot. But
that chalkboard scene, I was just gonna say, like 100%. that's where I was like, whoa, like this is so A Nightmare on Elm Street, and I just really liked it. Sorry, I interrupted.
Well, I'm gonna interrupt now because I think the chalkboard scene is great as well. And as I was watching it, I just thought it was really impressive because I was trying to figure out exactly how they did it 100%, because it has like a whirlpool effect and everything as well. I'm kind of wondering, I'm like, did they build a set around a tub, build a set around a pool, and like kind of put the camera up like looking down? Like how effectively, like how did they do it? Because if so, like that's a lot of planning just for that one, you know, little segment, right? It's not like similar to just, you know, inverting the room in Nightmare on Elm Street and like pouring the blood down or something. Like there's more to that when I was watching it, I just thought it was really impressive. I agree that it kind of took things up a notch for sure.
That's all I had. So Rowan, if you want to go ahead with yours.
My favorite kill was the locker. I had the locker written down. I did really enjoy that scene. I'm sure we'll talk more about it. But my favorite scene, one is a very brief cliff note, which was the actual beginning of this film, which was the classic Alliance intro, which just really brings me back to renting movies, because it seems everything I rented was from Alliance, and that is like that, just the sound of the intro, I was like, nostalgia.
Can I tell you something just to sidetrack for 1 second about Alliance?
Yeah.
As somebody who was literally from the time I was like 9 years old, a like born pirate, and I used to have my family's VCR dragged into my bedroom, and then one Christmas I asked for my own, ostensibly so that they could have theirs back, even though they never watched movies. But really, I just used the 2 VCRs so that I could rent movies and then tape them off on blank tapes, because I used to know how to hook it up.
Yeah.
Because my friend's older brother showed me. And so I would just like rent 4 movies, and then just like I'd have 4 new movies to watch forever. Yeah. Anyway, so it worked on almost every videotape. The only ones that it would never work on were Alliance movies. I could never dub Alliance movies. I don't know what they used. I don't know if there was like some magnetic thing or something, but like I would tape it off, return the movie, and then when I went to watch it later, it would just be like, you could hear it, but it would just be blurry. It was like when you were trying to watch a channel back in the day, like that you weren't subscribed to, like the picture was blurry, but you could hear it. Yeah. So I was always like, oh fuck. And then I realized it. So then every time I'd like go, oh, I'm going to tape this movie off, it's like, fuck, it's Alliance. I can't. Anyway, sorry. I just had to throw that out there. It was like early piracy woes.
I love that.
Yeah. Like I said, it was just a pure nostalgia thing that I was like, oh, this is fantastic. But my actual favorite scene is when the Mary Lou possession is starting and Vicky is in her room and that fucking rocking horse, and it's
so good.
It looks so fucking awesome, and I just love everything. Really, any scene with the rocking horse, but this is the chalkboard all over again. I'm like, why does this movie look so good?
Yeah, like, it's such a weird moment.
It's like, it's gross. It's just like, it was so perfect. And I was like, this is like exactly what I come to these like fucking low quality, just no one's talked about them in 40 years. Like, this is fantastic, and I just love that scene. I was so on board with that scene.
I love that scene as well. Yeah, I have a note written down just like how its eyes changed. Like, I thought it was a really impressive effect. Then obviously the tongue coming out, and then it being like cross cut with her in her bed with like the sheets really tight on her, but all the hands kind of groping her and stuff.
It's such a like insane image.
Yeah, very good horror imagery.
Yeah, it's like I think up to that point you weren't expecting that, but that's when, like you said, it kind of like that sort of chunk in the movie is when you go like, okay, this isn't exactly what you think it's going to be. It's actually something a little bit cooler. No, you're totally right.
Well, I think before that moment, there was like another dream sequence, but essentially it was just Arnold Schwarzenegger as the Terminator showing up to sexually assault her. You guys remember that scene where he just shows up and he has a leather jacket on and sunglasses? And I was like, whoa, this is an interesting cameo here.
I can't.
Jesus.
I don't know if you guys noticed that, but it was like literally like he looked identical to Arnold in Terminator.
Now I get it.
That didn't trip to me, but now I'm like, going back in my brain.
Oh my
very first note, other than the Alliance note for this movie, literally just says Tutti Frutti is such a bop, which it really is. Like, I did, it was interesting because when I started watching it, like I said, I mean, I didn't know anything about the movie. I made sure not to even look at like reviews or anything. So I didn't know whether or not we were going to be in the 50s or, if it was going to be in the 80s. Luckily, this is, in that lineage of great kind of time travel-y movies like Time Cop and Indiana Jones that we talked about before.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Those two are the pinnacle of time travel movies.
Yeah, I know, right?
So, Hello, Mary Lou walked so those could run. But yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm just a sucker for horror movies that do this, like, throwback to the 50s. And then just kind of give me, like, I don't know what about 50s music is, like, almost, like...
I was going to say,
even
it's
when they're
music.
Bops, like, they're also kind of, like, inherently...
Good.
But they're also, like, inherently, like, kind of creepy. It's, I'm thinking, like, like Sandman in, like, the Halloween movies and, like, Jeepers Creepers and all this stuff. And I'm just like, this music's always, like, kind of creepy.
I think
it's have, like, a happy tone.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, something bad's going to happen.
They're so upbeat and like peppy that it's very easy to like introduce like a sinister tone to it for like contrast. It makes the scarier moments feel that much scarier that it's happening next to this wholesome music, right? Mm-hmm. It's very effective. I loved that 1957 section as well. Like, one of my notes is that, man, this 1957 section was awesome. And then it's like the next note is like a little bit disappointing because it's like, it's not quite as elevated and quite as like exciting right off the bat after that 1957 section. It starts off on like such a strong note.
And a lot of times, like, the flashback scenes in a movie like that are the worst part.
Yeah,
because it's like, you're just like kind of slogging through it to like propel the plot, but like. Mm-hmm. Like you said, it's, to me also, I find like it's a pleasure to go back in time, I guess.
Yeah, well, and I think I think they did a good job just kind of setting up the world stage, because that guy had a lot of foresight when, he was just like, this rock and roll, it will never last. This music will never cease to, it just won't go on, which luckily it didn't. And rock and roll just died immediately in 1957. So, thank God he was correct.
Or it just evolved.
To something horrible like Last Resort covers. But
Wow,
that's actually making it on the main show. Falling in Reverse, Last Resort.
While we're talking about Falling in Reverse, fun fact, the movie's poster artwork from Hello Mary Lou, Prom Night 2, was the inspiration for the artwork for the Falling in Reverse album, The Drug in Me Is You, which I hadn't realized before, and I just saw them live a couple of nights ago, and then I watched this movie
freaky.
for the first time.
Like the timing, Jill, it's uncanny. Cool. It's really uncanny.
Yeah, non-ironically, like actually a fun fact. Yeah, it's pretty good.
I do have to say that I would hope, if I'm ever hanging out with all you guys and someone catches me on fire, that at least one person would attempt to save me.
Help?
I'm dramatically pounding on the ground. That's what I'm doing. In slow motion, hopefully.
She's just burning alive. And also, she didn't stop, drop, and roll at all.
Not at all. No.
Yeah, but think about the material that they used, the fucking synthetic ass material that dress was made out of. Like, that was like gasoline.
Also, if she stopped, dropped, and rolled, we wouldn't have got like that excellent shot of her like looking up into the rafters, on fire.
I fucking love it.
We wouldn't have got that. So
it was so good. Half of her
it's a good
face is like melted.
Yeah.
It's so good.
She wouldn't have been able to see her high school boyfriend that was clearly 43. He was pretty much fully bald.
They all had receding hairlines.
I
all
know.
of them for the high school.
It was so impressive. I'm surprised that they recast them for like the older section.
Yeah,
they could have just literally used them.
They could have just slapped a bit of like cake makeup on Michael Ironside and just had him film the whole thing. Really.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, which I have to thank Mike, because I did not know Michael Ironside was in this, and I just don't know if it's possible to have a bad time if Michael Ironside is in your film.
Literally
so good, just fucking acting the shit out of this. Probably the only one that took the movie seriously.
Yep, he always eats. Always.
Oh, 100%. I did want to say I did really enjoy. I don't know when you guys in your spare time bless America, but I always say God bless America when someone just grabs my junk and I just scream it, which that should have been my favorite scene. I really was. Did I miss something there? Because she just like grabs his junk in the 50s there, and then he just yells, "God bless America." I was just a fantastic line delivery. Fantastic.
It was, but it had me confused because once I saw the Labatt Blue in the fridge, I was like, oh, this is a Canadian film. I'm confused now. Yeah.
We can just do like Rowan headcanon, maybe she's like a U.S. exchange student, and
yeah.
There you go.
Oh my god, it's like reverse Cezanne Marguerite for Most Popular Girls in School. I'm into it. Well, that was a flop, okay.
Oh, sorry.
I was like, I don't know what you're talking about, Mike, but I'm just gonna smile and nod.
we will just agree with you. So, I mean, I think we kind of alluded to it beforehand.
Girl, what about my favorite part?
We've just been talking for so long that
you just like skipped over me. I have things to say here, bitch.
Okay, yeah.
Then spit it out, Mike. Come on.
It's my pick.
Come on, spit it out.
Well, I was gonna say.
So anyway, guys,
my favorite kill / part was Vicky making out with her father and then throwing her mother through the door and then just walking over her to go to the fucking prom. Like,
yeah, pretty wild.
What is more legendary than that? It's true icon behavior.
That was fantastic. And like,
who had incest on their like bingo card for this movie before that point? Anyone know? Exactly.
It's like the horse thing. Like, even that, like, it was just like so like sick and demonic and stuff.
It's unwholesome.
Like, I really did not expect this movie to like really pull out the stops on like this whole thing, really. Like, I think in the middle of my notes was literally just a note that said, like, I did not expect this movie like to be like this.
You know what I expected in the movie, and I was a little bit let down by it? That the AM/FM potato radio doesn't really pay off. I don't think, right? Like, it just kind of goes away. There's a big, like, he introduces this like revolutionary, potato radio, which we've all done probably in middle school. Even though he calls a potato a fruit at the beginning, which I was like, bro, come on. I think he does,
No, he says, is it a fruit? Is it a vegetable? Yeah.
I know. I was just like, bro, I think we all know a potato's a vegetable. But anyways, I was like, okay, I hope in the climax of this movie, this AM/FM potato radio pays off. And it just doesn't. So I'm going to have to knock it for that.
I think it was just a like setup to show that he's the tech nerd, and that's why he has to be in the computer for that whole kill scene
at the end.
I just assumed, but you're right, and he had that like actually really brilliant monologue. I thought that was really well written. I'm like, it makes you kind of instantly fall in love with this character.
Yeah. I also like his concern over Einstein later in the movie, because I think someone calls him Einstein or something in that. And then there's actually like a poster of Einstein like in his room or his office, and poor Einstein gets stabbed, and it's good stuff.
Speaking of disappointing moments, though, I was very upset at the tease paper cutter decapitation that didn't happen.
So I had that as my favorite scene, and then I changed it because I assumed everyone would pick it. I was like, it's too easy of a choice. But yeah, let's talk about that. I kind of like the subversion of it. It is definitely a tease for sure. And I think they could have pushed it a little bit further, like maybe actually had the blade like kind of pressing down on her neck a little bit or something. But that was like the moment in the movie where I was like, this is starting to get wild. Like a lot of the really quick cuts and like how like magical it all started feeling, just how like frantic and crazy it was. I was like, all right, this movie's like, it's taken it up a notch at this point. I was like, I was completely in. That was like when I stopped feeling that like, the 80s section was a little bit more boring. I was like, all right, here we go.
Yeah, well, it's funny because I like started like before the scene even like finished playing out. I saw the paper cutter on the floor, so I started writing. I'm favorite kill scene, this paper cutter, and then I'm like, oh no, wait, but yeah, I'm on.
And you're thinking of Megan, like, is she gonna break it off and like start chopping people up?
Yeah, but I'm like you, Colton. I just, even though like a little part of me disappointed, I did really like that subversion where I'm like, okay, like, you're going to make sure that I can't know what's going to happen this entire movie.
And I think I would have been a little bit more disappointed if it stopped just from her being hanged, from the light, because she kind of like levitates and gets hanged by the fluorescent tube in the top. But then they go the one step further and just chuck her out the window. And I was like, all right, this is just going crazy. And what is so wild about this is in my notes, the immediate note before this, it says, God, this movie got boring quick. Now they're just sitting on the floor crying about some boy that Jessica, never called her back. And then it's like instantly like, oh, never mind. This is a great scene. It was just like, I was so checked out of the movie for, those 10 minutes there. And then all of a sudden I'm like, here we go. This is what I signed up for.
Also, like, her outfit we need to talk about was phenomenal. It was like giving Susie and the Banshees like full 80s goth, but mall goth like vibes.
Yeah, 100%. I was gonna say mall goth. I think I had it
little
written
Robert
down.
Smithy.
Yeah.
The hair. I was like, dang.
Honestly, though, Robert Smith wishes he could. Her hair was insane.
I had written down, like, Colton, I'm a little disappointed. You bring up potato radios, but you don't talk about guacamole. You don't talk about, like, the just pure racist 80s joke of the guacamole radio that then plays just, like, random Mexican music.
I must have forgot about that. No, it's ringing a bell now that you mentioned it. But yeah, sadly, I don't have guacamole radio written down in my notes.
I was thinking when watching this that, like all, not just horror, but all these high school movies, we have a lot of these kids that are like, you know what? You need to let me just make my own decisions. Like, I'm almost an adult. I can decide for myself. And I really thought to myself, I was like, I'm pretty sure I'd be dead if I was allowed to make my own decisions in high school. But, I just, when are these kids going to learn? Like, you know what? There's probably a reason that you can't make your own decisions in high school. Just, I don't know about you guys, but I was terribly irresponsible. So it would just be a bad time for everyone, really.
Yeah, also.
Therapy sessions with Rowan.
I'm like, is this going anywhere, Rowan? Or just...
Rowan's just feeling the vibe.
He's unloading right now.
He's in his feels. A free 5 minutes of therapy. Subjecting our listeners.
Let me tell you about my trauma. I did another thing I thought about with with Colton in mind is I thought about another horror movie with a blonde lead in it, and I kind of thought to myself maybe I wasn't meant to be like a 80s teenager. I mean, I wasn't, so because I don't get the 80s obsession with the like the blondes. I don't get it. No offense to the blondes. I guess, different strokes for different folks, but I just not I don't get it.
I think if I would have watched this at, in high school times, I think I would have been like obsessed with Jessica out of everyone in this movie. Mm-hmm. But I will say that like the actress, I think it's Wendy Leon, just doing like full frontal for like 5 minutes of this movie as she's wreaking havoc. I'm like, holy fuck! Like,
and
this
again,
woman's
did you have that on your bingo card for this movie?
No, I didn't. I never had a lot of this on my bingo card. I was coming in expecting it to be a Mike pick, Mike. So I was just literally like, all right, I'm gonna fall asleep. I'm gonna fall asleep halfway through. But no, like I think that actress, like that's pretty brave / brutal. Hopefully it wasn't like she was coerced into doing it or anything, but I was like, man, this is kind of pretty wild scene. Like that winds up culminating with the locker crush, right? Which is just so great.
She ate that fucking scene. Like
and then like a couple of minutes before it has the whole like priest scene again, right? Which was like, kind of the coda to like my favorite scene where, where she's like, and you know what pissed me off the most? No fucking wings.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I was wondering, did she mean like wings to fly or chicken wings?
Oh my god,
Are there no chicken wings? Did you have this note?
I had the exact same note because I was trying to figure it out. I'm like, why did she care so much about chicken wings? I was like, this
you
is
can just
weird.
tell like who went to church as a kid or something, right? It's like instantly like, oh, angel wings, going to heaven. You're like, wow. What about those Dave's like hot chicken wings?
Yeah.
Going back to the nudity, though. I did have a note. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So apparently the nudity was gratuitous and it wasn't like planned by the director or anything. I think the actresses decided they wanted to do it. And,
they wanted to do it?
I think so.
Oh, okay. Well then I was like, oh, now you're bumming me out. If it was the director just being a perv at the last minute, being like, you know what, take your top off.
No, I don't think they
Game
had
of
it like, planned at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it was really powerful.
Colton thought it was the director being a perv. Now it's just Colton being a perv. He's like, oh, they wanted to do it.
No, what I'm saying is I thought the scene worked for me. I thought it was pretty powerful and it was supposed to be like an inversion of the character beforehand because she's like possessed by Mary Lou. It's just if the actress was coerced to do it, then it makes me feel worse about it, right? Like, I just know when you're filming like nude scenes on set, it's like usually there's a coordinator there to make sure they're comfortable. Usually it's a very reduced crew and whatnot. Where back in these days, I don't know if that's how it was. There could have been like 50 horny men gathered around the camera just leering at her, right? So I'm hoping if she chose to do that, it was like, of her own volition, which like, as Gill said, it seems like it was.
See, none of us are, what do you say, Gill? It's like Roman Catholic. Is that like the faith that is in
It's a denomination of Christianity. Yeah, Roman Catholic. Yeah.
They have confession.
I was kind of curious about the priest because I was like, it seems to me the only real satanic things going on is like this weird ritual the priest has got going. Like, I was like, is this the fucking craft or something? Like, he's got all the candles around him and he's like...
I didn't like it because usually priests prey on people that are like 10 years younger than high schoolers.
Yeah. Ooh, period. Yeah.
Love it. Gotta get our priest dig in.
Yeah.
It's just
but
necessary.
Definitely creepy for sure, Rowan. I got a note on that as well, where it's just like, I was like, oh man, the guy who was pounding on the stairs is now just, thirsting over Mary Lou like 30 years later,
The thirst is real.
Oh, 100%. The 80s prom looked fantastic. I was like, that looked like such a time. I'm just curious, have you guys ever been to like a prom or a school dance that like had this high production value going on?
Yes, my prom was like a movie prom. Yeah, it had like a big budget of like, it was like a night on the stars. You walk through all these like stars and they're all like glittering and whatnot. It was like almost like a vaguely casino themed thing with like those red and black stars and all that stuff. Yeah, as I said, mine was pretty sick, but I know most people's isn't.
Yeah, we two totally different experiences. I kept thinking about like junior high and high school dances where I'm like, literally it's like a DJ and they just shove you in like the lunchroom and there's like still tables there and they don't care. Like that was
it was in the gymnasium
experience.
To be fair, but it was like, I think it went like a couple of weeks of volunteer work after school, like to get our gymnasium turned in. I remember like the whole ceiling was full of balloons and shit. Like it was a big thing. Yeah, in Labrador. We do it big in the big land.
Apparently. It sounds nicer than mine.
I feel like that's all for naught, isn't it? Like, you know, you get these proms already when, like, let's be realistic, all these kids are just like getting drunk. They're like, all they care about prom is like, I'm getting fucking hammered.
Oh my god. I did not get to do that at my prom. So I had like the worst night. Like someone like died that day in my town. Oof. And like the person who was gonna like host, you know, all these underage people drinking somewhere canceled it, and yeah, so I just remember going home afterwards and I was like, shit,
Gill, now's the time. Call them out. Who was it? No.
Yeah,
I won't because they had a good reason to cancel it. Their son was in the crash. They didn't die, but someone died in that crash.
Oof.
But,
yeah, for ours, our school was very aware that everyone goes drinking like during prom or right after prom. So there was also like a thing called safe grad.
Yeah.
So essentially, you would go to safe grad all night, and then the real drinking would be the next night.
Yeah.
So it'd be the night after prom. You guys all go out to like the old pit and have, you know, big bonfire and whatnot. And yeah, I think that was my first time ever drinking. And I drank like
bullshit.
What was that? The beer that's like really high percentage. I forget the name of it.
Colt 45.
Is it Rickards?
No, it wasn't Rickards or Colt 45. It was like literally the cheapest beer at the store. Oh, fuck, I forget the name of it. Anyways, I asked a friend to pick me up an easy beer to drink because I've never drank before. And I had like 4 of them and just like passed out after like a half hour or something. That was it.
Wait, was it like Ladette or something?
I'm going to search it up here. Someone else take it, and I'll figure it out, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the moral of all this prom talk is that make sure that you do get the party at your prom, or you'll just end up like Gill as an adult that reads smut all day. And
yeah. You know what? Yeah, I harbor like bitterness about that because I was like, man, at least, you know, even if we had a safe grad, that would have been cool. But I just went home and was sad.
It's kind of sad that you just deep down have this like deep seated hatred for people that apparently died. You're just like, these
No, I don't.
people.
I don't. I really don't. It's just like, you know, we should have done something about it. You know, like
Max Ice.
Max Ice. Yeah, so it's like it has a black label.
Yeah. It's like the highest percentage you can get for the cheapest price. And
I've
once
never
again,
heard of that.
Yeah, I've never.
Yeah.
I didn't buy it for myself. Like one of my friends picked it up, and it was just literally like, yeah, I drank like half of it way too fast and passed out on a pallet. And that was.
You're such a good boy.
Ice should pay you.
I am a good boy. Still am.
That's a Labatt product.
Oh, okay. Well.
Yeah, I was trying to think, like, what in life do I want so bad that I'll just give nerds blowjobs? And I was like, really, I was thinking like it would have to be a lot of 4K Blu-rays in my possession to.
How many 4K Blu-rays?
But also, he
At
was
least
not
3.
really like that
At
big of
least
a
3.
nerd.
Okay.
Like, he was smart, but he wasn't like your stereotypical nerd.
I guess, although
I'm just throwing that out there.
He also is like super greasy. He like conned her into it, and
I don't. Was it conned, or was it just like she knew? Like, I thought she was more so doing it herself. She was like, I know what'll make me prom queen. Yeah. Did he
I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe he did specifically request.
She did have the mouth spray already. Like,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. She was ready.
Thank you for calling back to my opening.
Yeah.
Who has mouth spray on them like that?
Someone who gives a
I
lot
actually
of
do
blowjobs.
have some in my purse, but like I actually bought like a 4-pack and I have one in like every.
That joke couldn't have landed better.
Who does that other than me?
You get the scope spray. It's literally.
Anyway. I like those little Listerine strips that you can put on your tongue. Yeah, those are great.
But see, they're
really good for getting that like dick smell out of your mouth.
This was also like why I was like, man, I love the movies going there, because not only do we get the creepy, like she's got to blow the guy to become prom queen, you immediately get her coming out, and then her boyfriend immediately going to kiss her.
Yeah.
And I was like, only this movie would just make that joke. And I was like, this is fantastic. Fantastic.
And it's like homoeroticism by proxy. It's like due to the transitive property, he has now sucked a dick.
Does that make this a pride pick now?
It's a pride pick.
It does. I was actually gonna say at the beginning.
There was lesbian action.
Yeah, I was saying that it's funny because I was telling somebody the other day, it might have been Willow and them, about how we were recording this. And I said this was like my belated pride pick because it's kind of a queer camp classic, but also there's lots of like latent and overt homoeroticism in it. So it's a little belated.
There's
belated
always
pride
one
pick.
with you. I know it. Every time I'm looking for it, I'm like, oh, there's something gay in here. I'm gonna find it.
And if there's not,
You're like
Mike
peeling
will
back
still
the
find
layers.
it.
It'll be like the Babadook.
Yes, exactly. It's like, hang on now, let me get my podium out and do a lecture about, how to properly read this movie.
Do we want to talk about what I thought was a fantastic ending to this film?
Yes.
What part of it? The whole ending part where, Mary Lou sheds Vicky's skin on stage and explodes out of like her abdomen and shit, and she's like this goopy little guy for a few minutes there.
Yeah, that is where I'd like to start.
Yeah, okay, that is a good place to start, I think.
Because yet again, totally subverting my expectations for this film.
Yeah.
I was like, I did not see this in my cards, and I'm getting like this, I don't even know how to describe it. It was giving me like Demons vibe or fucking, Night of the Living Dead or something.
Freddy's Revenge.
Yeah, like just fantastic. Like the practical effects in this in general just like really worked.
The makeup
for
is
me.
really good.
I was waiting for you to say that. That was in one of my notes, but I was like, Rowan's gonna say that.
I should just have a like sound effect bump. Then I don't have to use my voice to say it, where I'm like, the practical effects were amazing.
The practical effects were so good.
Jesus
But
Christ.
it's like, right before that, like, that moment itself is so insane and kind of off-kilter, but, like, literally 30 seconds before that, she gets shot by Michael Ironside.
I know.
Like, it's just this, like, fucking chain of, like, insane things happening. You don't have time to, like, compute that one happened and then another one is happening, and it's like, okay, this is just literally spinning off its axis.
I like that Michael Ironside, like in the logic of the movie, he's just been sitting around for 30 years and comes back to prom again just to kill another prom queen.
I know! I was
just
like, you
yeah.
already fucking murdered her. This is all your fault, bitch.
It's awful. It's like, man, this guy didn't go to jail or anything, or like, he's just been waiting to do it again. It's so messed up.
What did he say ahead of the quote? When he's talking to we're different people now. Like, forget the fact that I literally caught my girlfriend on fire.
Yeah.
Like, becomes a principal.
Yeah.
Why didn't anyone lock him up for that? Like, first of all,
why did you let him be a principal at the exact same high school?
Listen, that's like hanging around the scene of the
question.
crime after you committed serial murder.
There's some good revenge though when Mary Lou takes over his son's girlfriend's body though.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty sweet justice.
Yeah, and she comes into the office and is like, "Oh yeah, I fucked up your son."
Billy.
And then gets up on the desk. We do love a good desk or table jumping.
Yeah, those are always fantastic. And then speaking of Billy, Michael Ironside, I was also going to say the fantastic ending of where he's possessed by Mary Lou.
Yeah.
And the song.
We skipped ahead so far. We never even mentioned how sloppy that Evil Dead shot is into the exploding tombstone. Come on,
I'm sorry.
We never messed up. It's so messed up that Mary Lou has to dance with the person that killed her.
Yeah.
And I don't know what I'm supposed to feel in that moment of the movie. I was just like, what is this?
I did think of the Evil Dead. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
You skipped over the payoff of the sugar in your coffee. Nah, that stuff will kill you. Come on, you're missing all the great stuff about this ending.
She's completely like gooped and
just so gooped up.
I knew that sugar was gonna come back.
Yeah.
Later on in the movie.
Set up and payoff, baby. It was just so good. Yeah.
I kind of felt bad for Boyfriend, man. Her family just fucking hated him. All because he drives a motorcycle. And it's not even like a good... I don't know anything about motorcycles, but I feel like, you know, it's not like a guy driving a Harley. He's driving just like a fucking just basic motorcycle.
Can we talk about how he's always working on his motorcycle? Like, he's at school and he's out in the parking lot working on his motorcycle. He's at home, he's working on the motorcycle.
Yeah, those are
breaks down every 5 minutes.
Those are the kids, you know, are going to back then it was like vocational school. Like they're not heading to university. They're becoming mechanics. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
I was about to say classism.
Class war over here.
I think with that, I think we can get to the Let's Cruise with Evil Michael Ironside. That's a wild ending as well, because we were saying like he gets his comeuppance a little bit, I guess, but like he's possessed. Is he possessed by Mary Lou at the end of the movie, or like who's possessing him? Or
because he's wearing the ML.
Oh,
ring.
he's wearing the thing. Yeah, okay.
And the song comes on.
Yeah. It was such a strange ending to the movie that I was like, this is like an unhinged ending, and then the fucking license plate with Mary Lou too on it.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it was such a great ending that instantly I was like, oh, is there a Mary Lou 2? I have to know. And then there's not, which kind of sucks. There should be a Mary Lou 2.
Yeah, there really should. And also, like, that whole ending, I was like, oh, like, what a callback to Nightmare on Elm Street. Like, we're doing the twist ending. But yeah, no, just fantastic. Did you guys have any other notes on this? Are we good to go in the rating it, or?
I need to say one thing, that nobody found it weird. Oh my god, what is her name? I think it's... Oh, Monica, the friend who gets squished in the locker.
Mm-hmm.
When she comes with the yearbook from the 50s, and she goes, and I quote, because I wrote it down, I'm like, nobody like even batted an eye at this. I found it in my father's underwear drawer, and I'm like, what the fuck are you doing in your father's underwear drawer?
Well,
that's when you find the good shit.
Why is he keeping his yearbook under his fucking panties? Like...
Ooh.
Oh, I keep my yearbook
you've been
under
in
my
Dave's
fucking
underwear drawer.
Well, my parents share an underwear drawer, which is kind of weird.
I'm still
with
but
high
one side
school
was my mom's
yearbooks in it. That's
that's
problematic.
No. But I forget what was in there, but they used to hide things there.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense for them to hide stuff in the underwear drawer. It's just
I hope they never
a 40-year-old dude or a 50-year-old dude having a high school yearbook in his underwear drawer. This says something else. Yeah.
I'm making a fake Facebook account, and I'm gonna send the link to this episode to Dave and Karen Keats to have some information about your daughter that you might want to know.
I don't even know what they used to hide there, but
I bet they know.
I have something you need to know.
Yeah, that's right.
I feel like it's not that bad if I don't remember it. I found other things that were disturbing.
Either that
anyway.
or it's been completely repressed. And buried and pushed down.
I don't know. There's me and my sister have found some things.
This is the childhood trauma episode.
Childhood trauma episode.
Listen, now I want to know. Now I need to know.
I found a VHS porn tape one time in my parents' closet. And then one time I found all my baby teeth that my mom collected as a tooth fairy. And I was like...
I found that too, which was super weird after the fact.
It's very traumatizing, actually.
I also found like my first haircut. Did your parents keep that?
Little lock of hair.
The little hair, yeah.
I have one of that in my baby
sex
book.
Toys.
Yeah.
I never found any of that stuff. Although
I'm just saying, one day, like 10 years from now, it's going to come out that Jill's mom was actually a serial killer, and that was like some other child's teeth.
Ooh. This is,
and Jill's going to be like, I found those teeth when I was like 12. Yeah.
This is sounding real Lock Henry esque going on here.
Yeah.
Black
yeah.
hair.
I like this. I'll get working on the script.
I will say, Jill, it's probably not as weird as the fact that my stepfather also had the drawer of porn tapes, but usually sealed because he just collected them, which may be even more odd.
I feel like that's less weird than actually watching it.
Sealed porn tapes? I think that's
Like-
more weird.
Like he
Really?
like collected
Yeah.
like weird titles.
Like collecting Playboy is kind of like a more normalized thing, but collecting
guess
sealed
so.
porn tapes, that's
yeah.
Yeah, like
I
who
could
are
see
you
Rowan
trying to
doing that.
impress? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we'll save some childhood trauma. I'm not gonna get into, having my stepdad tape the OC finale for me and then it's taped over a inappropriate tape and yeah.
Stop it.
Oh,
Stop
yeah,
it.
we'll get
Oh.
anyway, remember, Colton, when you do the artwork, instead of the pride sticker, just a sticker that says childhood trauma.
Childhood trauma.
Yeah.
All right, I'll write that down.
But yeah, are we comfortable to go into rating this bad
Yeah.
boy, bad girl, I guess is more appropriate. So we're going to land the plane. If you are new to the program, our rating system is nay, okay, yay, or slay. Mike, this was your pick, so why don't you kick us off?
I'm slaying to nobody's surprise. It's hard for me to disentangle seeing this movie at a young age and like looking at the like movie cover for so many years and like wanting to see it. But it definitely like influenced my aesthetic and my taste a lot for horror. And I love how campy it is, but like it's elements of surrealism that you don't expect. And again, I love the callback to anything 50s, like with the 50s music. I just, like chef's kiss. I love the actors. I think they're amazing. The soundtrack is phenomenal. It should be like, to me, it's one of those that like on paper and like maybe when you start watching it for a few minutes, you might go like, this has to be trash, but like I think there's just so much to it that like takes it out of that realm where like what should be complete garbage is actually what should be an American Psycho 2 speaking of a music ends up actually being something that's like really kind of like a cult classic. So yeah, I'm totally slaying it. I just like I said, it influenced my whole like aesthetic and taste. So yeah, total slay. Colton, what about you?
This is a big surprise for me because I actually really enjoyed this. I found this movie kind of kicked ass. The one thing I will say is that I did get bored when we jumped from the 50s to the 80s section, right? So that's the one thing. I had a little bit of like pacing issues at times, but like once it actually like kicked in and started getting a little bit more unhinged, a little bit more surreal, I actually thought this was really good as well. I'm surprised to say it, but it's definitely not like an American Psycho 2. It was not trash. Like when I watched it, like when I just saw the poster and stuff, I thought this was a straight to VHS, low budget, trashy, also piece of garbage movie is what I was assuming. I didn't look up any reviews or anything. And I went into this and I was just pleasantly surprised. I very much enjoyed it. I thought a lot of the kills were really creative. I love the 50 section, just how the little religious parallels like kind of coming around, like how sacrilegious it was a lot of fun. And I very much enjoyed it. I'm literally like teetering right on the edge of a slay, but I'm going to give it a very strong yay. I very much enjoyed it. I think this might be one of the strongest Mike picks I've had to sit through.
Yes!
I very much enjoyed it.
I'm so happy.
This is a great
Sometimes
watch.
I know when you're going to like I know you're going to hate it.
Yeah.
And I just know it, and I know there's no way in hell that, like, you're gonna have anything positive to say about it. And maybe, like, that's trolly of me, because, I don't know, maybe I, like, pick one every now and then just for that specific purpose. This one I wasn't sure on, but I was like, I'm 90% sure that you're not gonna like it, so that actually really pleases me.
It's funny, too, because you talk about how campy it is, but maybe this is a camp that I like. Like it felt like there was still skill here. They weren't relying on camp to be like, oh, this is what the movie is. Like there was a lot of skill here that I was surprised with. Like, like we've discussed the numerous scenes that were very inventive throughout the movie. And, there's loads of lines that I never quoted that I thought was really fun, clever writing.
Yeah.
I thought this was great. I really enjoyed it. I wish there was a Mary Lou too.
But he'll never give you the satisfaction of a slay, Mike. Never.
It's fine. This is literally leagues above what I thought I'd get. So
the thing is, like in my head, I was like, okay, I really like The Witch. I got to bring it back to A24. Just, let's kill the vibe.
Of course,
I was like, I really like The Witch, and I never gave that movie a slay. Can I give Hello, Mary Lou, Prom Night 2 a slay over that?
Fair.
And that's the thing. I think they're both great movies. I really enjoyed this. What about you, Jill?
I also think that this is one of the better, if not the best, Mike pick. But I do believe he picked Aliens as well, right? So, it's up there.
I mean, I'm not a big Aliens fan, so I'd still say Hello, Mary Lou.
Right. Wow. Okay. I'm shocked too. But I give Hello, Mary Lou, Prom Night 2 a slay because I think it's a great teen slasher from the 80s. I'm a big fan of that genre. I think it surpassed, even though it's not quite a sequel, it surpassed the original Prom Night, and you don't see that very often. Yeah. So, I think it's great. They did it well. I like the gore and the practical effects. The kills were really creative, like you said. I thought the actresses who played Mary Lou and Vicky were really awesome. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was fantastic. I really enjoyed it, and I wasn't expecting to. So it gets a slay for me. Nice. What about you, Rowan?
So I got to be the Debbie Downer of the episode. So, no, I'm just kidding. I give it a fucking slay. It's a slay, bitches. I really, really enjoyed this. And kind of like we said at the beginning, I can't believe you can't, there's no collector's edition of this or something. There needs to be, I'm hoping maybe with the resurgence of it, there's some sort of push for it. But I had so much fun with this. And this was one that, like I said, I didn't really know much about. I wasn't familiar with, even if the franchise has nothing to do with each other, I didn't know anything really. So I kind of turned this on just not expecting anything, and just to have my, like I said before, to have my socks blown off on this one. Mm-hmm. The practical effects were great. The music was great. Like you said, Colton, it just was way more competent than I feel like it had any right being. Yeah. You're always going to win me over with Michael Ironside.
Yeah, exactly.
And I feel like a slay isn't even fair for me. I'm going to give it 5 demonic rocking horses out of 5.
Nice.
With their tongues stuck out.
Yeah, with their tongues stuck out. I love the one, I love, and it's just not 5 of those, but it's 5 of Vicky sitting on it, and she's got her hand kind of in its mouth for a second. That's the kind of rocking horses I give it. So yeah, it's the
most unwholesome rocking horses of all time.
Exactly. So yeah, I'm also giving it a slay. Fantastic. So we told you what we thought of the film, and we asked you what you thought about the film. And that's the end of the segment, because no one wrote in about this movie.
What?
I had a feeling.
Shook.
Yeah. It's one of those where I think it is actually a hidden gem, this movie. And that's the thing. A lot of those old classic slashers from that era, I watch and I go it's okay. The kills are cool, but a lot of the movie's boring. This actually is entertaining in my opinion, 90% of it. It's definitely underseen, and I completely agree with you guys that there should be some sort of collector's edition. Scream Factory should be all over this, right?
Yeah. Can you imagine, because we were talking before we actually started recording about the quality of it and stuff, and because it's on Shudder now, which again, thank you Shudder. Shudder is doing such an essential job of bringing things to streaming and digital, but of course, as we know, physical is also where it's at, and especially if you want the highest quality. And the transfer or whatever that they have is definitely not the best, but I feel can you guys imagine if you got to watch this in a nice 1080p Blu-ray that's lovingly cleaned up, and even if it didn't have any extras, just to see it sort of in its full glory, as opposed to, this less than perfect transfer that they have. I'm just saying, just imagine it. It's wild.
Yeah, it would look fantastic. I'd also love to see this at some sort of independent theater showing, or this also prime drive-in movie. This would be fantastic in that setting.
It's what drive-ins were made for, yeah.
Yeah, instead of just playing fucking Marvel movies like my drive-in, only plays like superhero movies and Fast and the Furious. So I think with that, we are going to walk over to the horrific hotline. For some reason, every time I come over here, I don't know, I guess it's just my age. I always think of the Hotline song by Pretty Ricky, but that's okay. I don't know, just me. Just a R&B kid, I guess. So yeah, Colton, do we got anything on the hotline?
We do. I think, as always, pretty much, other than when we talk shit about him, I think Nicholas left us a message.
I think in his email it mentioned us talking shit about him.
Well, it's lovingly talking shit about him.
I was going to say,
because
it's said with love, yeah.
We can always count on him to leave a voicemail, and then when he doesn't, we're just so disappointed, and, 90% of the time.
Yeah, that one time that Wiki was on vacation, I'm like, oh man, I was really looking forward to hearing what he had to say about this.
I'll let everyone know that he wrote in the email that here was his voicemail on time again, so you can't make fun of me. Except maybe about my opinions, but but he said I'm hoping for some support from Colton.
Oh no!
Oh no!
All right, Nicholas, let's see what you have to say.
So I do have to admit that Hello Mary Lou Prom Night Part 2 definitely wasn't my cup of tea. I found it quite boring, to be honest, for most of the time. Probably because I did have some high expectations, because I heard that actually a lot of people really do like the movie. I just couldn't really deal with it that well. Mostly, I think, because it constantly reminded me of movies like Carrie, which I think is way better, or even the movie itself tells you right out about The Exorcist, I think like 10 times, which is, in my opinion, a way superior movie, that kind of bogged the movie down. Though I will admit there were a few sequences I actually kind of liked. The imploding locker was a interesting death that I hadn't really seen like that before. And some of the nightmare sequences of the main character were also interesting. Oh, and another movie it reminded me of is, of course, Nightmare 2, Freddy's Revenge, which has a very similar plot, I'd say, and it is also a movie I vastly prefer over this one. But I hope you guys enjoyed the movie and you got more out of the movie than I did. So interested to see what you're going to pick next.
That's the most pleasant way of saying, like, all right, can we just please move on from Hello Mary Lou and get to something better? Can't wait to hear what you're going to pick next.
You know what? I think this is your fault, Colton. I think your golden rules of that you're not allowed to show or talk about iconic or sometimes superior movies in your movie. I think he was following your logic. You set him up to fail. I can't believe you did this to us.
Yeah, at least they never showed like The Exorcist in the movie or something. They weren't like sitting around just hanging out watching The Exorcist or something, right? But no, like he said he was bored. I was bored a little bit as well. So I do empathize with that. I think just the movie kind of picked up from the period that I was so bored that it won me over by the end. But like not enough, like once again, to give it a full-hearted slay. But yeah, I can understand being a little bit bored and maybe the movie even losing you to a certain degree if it doesn't, win you back with all the crazy scenes afterwards. But yeah, if you want to be like Nicholas and leave us a voicemail, you can do so at 1-902-418-8620. Which, once again, I don't even know if we have access to that anymore. Maybe I should check into that before next episode. But you could also just send us a message on Instagram at @It'sLacePodcast or through our email, itslacepodcast@gmail.com. Basically, if you get a voicemail to us, we'll figure out how to put it on the show. And if you're not doing so already, you can follow us at itslacepodcast on Instagram, Facebook, Slasher, Letterboxd. We're currently still on Twitter, but I don't know. That platform's sort of falling apart right now, so I don't know how much longer. Yeah, how much longer we'll be on there. Maybe we'll be on Blue Sky or something in a few weeks' time. So who knows? But you can follow us.
Also, if you have an invite code, inbox it to us.
Yeah, just send it our way, please. No, me too, because I love Twitter and I need to go somewhere else that's not as shitty as current Twitter. And if you want to support the show like our horror hounds Holly, Nicholas, Patrick, Mark, Stephen, Joy, and Carvey, gain access to the Patreon exclusive show Stream Screams hosted by Gill, and get episodes of this here main show 48 hours early, be sure to head on over to patreon.com/itslazepodcast and choose whatever tier works best for you. And yeah, 48 hours early with, you know, an asterisk that I'm yelling at Rowan, I think, every 2 weeks to say, like, it's 5 hours late, it's 8 hours late, it's 12 hours late. So 48 hours early if Rowan can do that. I don't know.
I like to think people appreciate my slowness.
That's what people love. You know, when you go to a restaurant, you pay for your food. They love when it takes like an hour to get to their table rather than the 15 to 20 minutes, for sure.
You're like the sloth in Zootopia.
Exactly. Him editing, just like moving in slow motion. Rowan, go ahead and plug the playlist.
So if you're into spooky music, go to the It's Lays Podcast Horrific playlist on Spotify. If you have any problems finding it, you can go to any of the social media mentioned before and go to the Linktree link. There's a link directly to it. We upload licensed music or scores of iconic horror movies or horror movies we love, horror movies we review. We update it pretty regularly. I got to do a big update here soon. Might have to put a little Mary Lou in there.
I was going to say, don't you worry, y'all. Last night, the song that's playing when they cut to the prom starting in 87 is on Spotify, and I have it, and I'll send it to you.
Okay. Send it to me, too, so I can use it for the story.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that'll be up there. But, yeah, get your spooky music on all year long, because why wouldn't you? And I think all that is left is to announce the upcoming episode. And Gill, it is your pick. Why don't you tell the people what is next?
All right, I hope you guys are ready because we're about to have a good one. Queen of the Damned.
From 1987, I believe, correct?
1987? No. But it is an MTV movie based off of the Anne Rice novel, which is iconic.
The masterpiece Anne Rice novel.
It is a masterpiece. Soundtrack is... We'll get into it next time.
So get your eyeballs on Queen of the Damned. Hopefully, for all our sakes, there's no terrible covers of Last Resort in this one.
Oh my god,
we will find
it's good. You don't like it?
Maybe I'll use that for the story instead.
Yeah, maybe.
Y'all, by the way, I decided that we're not doing Queen of the Damned next week because I was just... At the end of every episode, I turn the page over and write, the name of the next movie we're doing to kind of like open up my blank slate. And because Gill was saying this as I was writing it, I called it Queen of the Soundtrack. That's what the movie I have written down is, just FYI.
Queen of the Soundtrack.
Queen of the Soundtrack. But you know what? I was like, it's not wrong. It's not wrong.
Sounds like my nickname, really.
Right.
But
you are the Queen of the Soundtracks.
I think that is everything for this episode. So as always, thank you for all the support. And I am Rowan.
It's Mike. Bye.
See you later, alligator.
Life's a joke and then you croak.
See you later. Alligator, I guess you already used that one.
We're going to expand our weekly video segment to take you into the back shelves of your local video store. Back where it says horror videos and where kids are devouring some awful films that we call the video nasties.
Are you freebasing? Inquiring minds want to know.
I have to break free from this culture of mechanical reproductions and the thick incrustations dying on the surface.
From the prime time, yes.
On with the new Fletch.
The pain, I can assure you, will be exquisite. As for our deaths, come with me and be immortal.
We have such sights to show you.
Gotta return some videotapes.